Hey everyone, Nick here. Got another video for you. Now this one is all about racing modern two-wheel buggies like the B7 and the new 22X on loose outdoor dirt. Specifically, I wanted to make this video to talk about something I see and hear all the time in the RC world. It's this pervasive idea that modern two-wheel buggies are only good on high grip tracks and they just can't run on old school outdoor dirt tracks. You hear this all over the place, from random Facebook posts to YouTubers who make videos regurgitating those random Facebook posts. The string of logic usually goes along the lines of this, right? These newer cars don't have as much weight on the rear tires as the old rear motor cars, therefore they don't grip as well and they don't drive as well on the loose dirt. Now, as someone lucky enough to still have a great 10th scale outdoor dirt track near me, Pit Stop Hobbies in Mount Joy, and you've seen me race there a bunch on this channel, I have plenty of experience running all kinds of cars from the old rear motor stuff to the modern buggies on, that loose dirt surface. And in this video, I'll give you my actual experiences driving those cars on loose dirt, and I'll even show you video of me driving two cars at the complete opposite ends of the vintage modern spectrum in this video later. So yeah, let's get into it. So, to be fair, I used to think the same thing as everyone else, that you need weight on the rear of the car to get grip, and I didn't think that modern laydown cars would do well on outdoor dirt. I would run stand-up mid-motor cars at pit stop, and I would do the typical things like moving my battery the whole way back and adding in extra weight on the rear end like brass C&D blocks. One of the first things that got me wondering about modern cars were two different fast guys showing up at pit stop and just smoking everyone with modern cars. They were easily half a second to a second per lap faster than the rest of us with our stand-up and our rear motor cars. The first guy was running a 2250 laydown config, and I was just shocked at how fast he was with that car and how planted it looked on the track even though it had a laydown in it. And then last summer, another fast guy showed up, and he was running a B7 with the 5-gear transmission, and he was just as fast, if not even faster than that first guy. So moving on to someone I don't know personally, right, another fast guy, Tom Rinderknecht. He was interviewed on the No Name RC podcast around the end of last year, I think, and Lefty had asked him about the upcoming IFMAR Worlds that were going to be held in Australia on a loose outdoor dirt track. They talked a little about racing on outdoor dirt, and Tom had mentioned that he thinks everyone's going to be running their modern laydown cars, and that in his experience, the older cars just don't have the corner speed to keep up, even on loose outdoor dirt. So go check that interview out. I'll put a link in the description. It's pretty good. Now, fast forward to the World's warm-up that was held earlier this year, and all the fast guys indeed were driving their modern cars. Nobody was messing around with laybacks or stand-ups or rear motor cars, and they were all blisteringly fast. So it's pretty clear that all of the fast guys still think that on outdoor loose dirt, the modern cars are the fastest way to go. But, you guys are smart, and I can already hear what you're going to say. Well, they're the fast guys. They're paid to run the modern cars, and they'll be fast with anything. And, what's fast for them might not be fast for the rest of us. So this next part of the video is addressing that, really, and it's talking about my own experiences driving lots of different cars on loose outdoor dirt. Now, I've had plenty of chances to swap remotes with other guys at the track the last couple of years and try their cars. One such occasion that really sticks out in my head was a rear motor short course truck I got to try once. One of the guys had just finished putting together a rear motor 22 SCT, and he was super excited to try it at the track. He was gushing about how great it drove, and it was kind of funny, completely unprompted. He just offered to let me drive it. So of course I tried it, but honestly, I found it kind of hard to drive, and I had trouble keeping the rear end of that car under control. Another situation where I swapped remotes with someone was with a guy who primarily runs 8-scale buggies. But he had thrown together a 2-wheel buggy for a one-off race later in that year, and he didn't put really any time or effort into the setup of this car or putting it together. And it was a lay-down B6 point something or another, I can't remember what. And, when we swapped, I thought his car was going to be a handful to drive compared to my stand-up car that I was driving back then. And I was actually kind of surprised that his car felt like it had just as much grip and it felt pretty good to drive even compared to my stand-up car. So I also want to bring up the point about his car kind of being thrown together. Not to throw shade on him, but another important thing, or another thing I hear all the time about modern laydown cars versus rear motor cars, is that the modern laydown cars are finicky and hard to set up on loose dirt, and a rear motor car you can almost just throw on the track and it'll just work, right? You hear that a lot. And in my experience, that's just not the case. And based on these two anecdotes I've just told you, that's certainly for me not been the case. Alright, so those were other people's cars, right? So now into my own cars. Now, if you've been following my channel, you know that I've been working on a mid-motor Bandit conversion for a while. And you might also know that I have a 5-gear transmission that I designed to run this car on the carpet. Well, I've been racing on the loose dirt at pit stop since about April, earlier this spring, and I've been running the 5-gear transmission the whole time. It's been great from the very first time I threw it on the track, before I even had the setup dialed in. And right away, I won 2 races with this car, and I haven't had any problems really at all with rear grip or driving it. It's just been easy to drive. Now, on the opposite end of the spectrum here, I also have my RC10 T3, and I just recently finished putting this back together. Now, I've had this since I was a kid when I first got into racing, and I recently had the nostalgia urge to put this back together and start running it again. So here you can see I've got the modern electronics in it and mounted up some modern tires on it. This past weekend, I took both of these cars to race at the track, and I just had an absolute blast driving these 2 very different cars that mean a lot to me for 2 very different reasons. But I also took the opportunity to record myself driving both of them, and next I'll show you some footage, and then after that I'll give you my thoughts on how each of these drove.
Racing on the sound of the tone in less than 5. Klein off to a good start there. Junior gets it sideways, heading up the hill. That's going to give Klein breathing room, and Nick Cummins the 2 spot. Junior looking to the inside. They're going to touch. Nick was using that ball for momentum. Junior cutting to the inside. Junior able to check up and not take Nick the whole way around, but this is what Chris Klein wants early on. You give him an opportunity to check out, and you might just never see him again. Kind of the Ryan Mayfield of York and Lancaster County. Oh, Junior going to roll it over. Whoa! The brave marshal there from Ben Smith.
I'm sorry.
2-wheel buggies, less scary than an abandoned building. That's the fastest he's moved in over a year. Klein right now. Out front. Let's see if we can locate him. He's already working through traffic. We're 1 minute in. Klein in the baby blue with the yellow wheels, working his way by some gambers there.
Oh.
Klein gonna roll it over. That's gonna let Nick Cummins close up in that flow yellow. So you got the baby blue with yellow wheels, and then that flow yellow buggy. That's your lead battle, drivers. That's your lead battle. You can see those 2 coming up on your work with them.
I can't see it.
Now both of your top 2 looking at some clear track ahead right now.
Help, please. Front stretch, please.
Front straight. Oh, in that last corner coming off the front straight. Ryan gets her nosed in.
I can't see it, bro. Okay.
Nick's gonna do what you do over there. Gonna get Chris Klein breathing room again.
Yep.
Okay.
They got 1 unforced error out of Klein. I don't know if they're gonna get another. Caution on the back straight. We got him going 3 wide, 1 going the wrong way in the wrong lane, and somehow Klein's gonna clear all 3 in 1 go. The Klein deftly working through traffic. The vocab word that I learned. Caution, front straight, got 2 spun around, all clear. So it's Chris in the lead, Nick Cummins 2, Bob Jr. in the 3 spot, 5 seconds back to Nick, then 5 seconds back to Brian Woltman, 3 seconds back to Bill Thompson, 1 second back to Ryan Gamber, 8 seconds back to Teresa, 20 back to Riso, 20 back to Phil and Bea on top of each other.
Thank you.
And Phil having a little bit of rear instability. Having trouble getting some forward momentum going with that thing. Now down the front straight, Brian just had a ton more speed than Phil coming down the straight, runs right into the back of him. I think that was a mod versus stock equation. In less than 5. And away we go. Looks like Bill wanted to have a look around the outside there in the sweeper. He's going to get into the
Oh,
side.
no.
Tyler able to hang on to it.
That's not a good start.
Oh, that's going to be Nick to the back. He's going to have to fight through the short courses to get back to Matt.
Oh no!
Oh, never mind. Matt's going to come back to him. Interesting. Interessante. One might say in Spanish. So right now, Scott leading the way in that four-wheel. Ben already back up to the queue after the last one roll.
Yeah, I kind of punted him from underneath. Sorry, bud.
No forward, but he enters the whole way forward and then sticks it under the pipe. Remember, kids, stay off the pipe.
Calm down.
Ben's going to get it wrong with the back double. Bye, Scott. So Scott's about to have a lonely morning.
Oh no, something popped. Check a ball cup. All right, I hope I didn't embarrass myself too bad with those clips. Now I'll start with my Bandit because that's kind of the main focus of my channel at this point. The Bandit felt pretty good the whole night, no matter what the track was doing. And I would describe how it felt as, it was stable, maybe a bit sluggish feeling and a bit pushy, but overall very comfortable and controllable, especially at its limits. I didn't feel like I was on edge driving it or constantly on the verge of spinning out. It just felt good to drive. And I also quickly want to point out that in the clip I showed you, I qualified and finished third. Second place was a 2250 with the laydown transmission, and first place was the new 22X. So now on to the T3. You guys have eyes. You saw those first couple of laps. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I struggled. Throughout the day, it was like the tale of two cars with this truck. When it felt good, but when it didn't, it was kind of bad, right? What would happen is the rear end of this car just wanted to let go, and when it let go, it would just lose all control. Overall, the truck just didn't feel as comfortable or stable as my Bandit, and when I tried to push the truck like I knew I could push the Bandit, the truck would punish me. Now granted, I didn't do a single bit of setup work to the T3. I just put it together with whatever setup I had on it the last time I drove it years ago and threw it on the track like that. So I do think there is room for improvement for sure with the setup, and I bet I could get it pretty close, if not driving every bit as nice as my Bandit. But, for me, this proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that there's no magic to a rear motor car that makes them inherently better or easier to drive or easier to set up than a modern laydown car or 5-gear car on loose dirt. Alright, and that pretty much wraps it up for this video. So I hope I've somewhat managed to convince you that modern cars are good on loose dirt, actually, and also that rear motor cars aren't some kind of magic cheat code to going fast on loose dirt. Or, if I haven't managed to convince you, hopefully I've at least planted that starting seed of doubt that could maybe lead you down the path of, changing your mind. But you tell me, what do you guys think? Was seeing clips of me actually driving two very different cars on the same track enough to convince you? Do you have similar experiences, or a completely different experience? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. I do appreciate it, and I kindly ask you to do all the usual YouTube things like comment, share, and subscribe, all that stuff. And yeah, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching and have a good day.